8 липня починаю роботу.
It's July 8th. Ukraine Media Center Grand Forum starts its operation. My name is Svitlana and let me remind you that we're working in a new Urban 500 space kindly provided by Svitlana, and today we will be talking about the fires in the forest areas and accidents in water. Our briefing is taking place right in the aftermath of the massive missile strike inflicted by the Russians on Ukraine. We keep track of the events unfolding all across Ukraine, including the spots of the strikes. Our speaker today is Svitlana Vodolaha, head of the press service of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine. I think that after today's briefing, are going to plan yet another briefing related to massive missile strikes. But today, let's talk about the problems that are really pressing for our country, something pressing for our citizens, because we have a number of problems here: the fires, the death on water, the use of generators and alternative electricity generating sources without adhering to the safety rules that can save lives. Well, I suggest we start with the fires. Let me ask the technical team to put the presentation on the screen. So what is the number of fires that erupted within this period? What are the causes of those fires? So talking about the systems, the fires in ecosystems, unfortunately more than 20,000 fires erupted in our ecosystems starting from the new year. Comparing to the same period of the last year is twice as much, because last year we only had about 10,000 of them. We're talking about the fires in ecosystems, forests, and open areas. 7 people fell dead to those fires. I'm sorry, 9 dead, plus 22 more injured. Talking about the fires specifically in the forest, we had about 500 of such fires over there, and the total area was more than 22,000 hectares. So what was the number of State Emergency Service rescuers who were involved in putting out those fires? Is the number of rescuers sufficient to overcome this number? I mean, you're mentioning that it's twice as much as last year. Well, definitely we have a sufficient number of rescuers, but we can just count their workload, just to calculate it. All those fires that we have, they emerge in the ecosystems, in the forest, due to the massive strikes of the Russians. And on top of having to rescue people after the massive strikes, they have to put out fires in the forest and open areas. And the problem is that the rescuers cannot always do it in a safe manner, because in the majority of the regions where the fires erupt after the missile strikes or rocket strikes, all those open areas, they are heavily contaminated with explosive devices, and the rescuers don't always have an opportunity to put out such fires without the risk to their lives. Talking about the fires in ecosystems, the mostly affected, I mean, the biggest number of fires erupted in Dnipropetrovsk region, more than 3,000 as of today. Kharkiv region, more than 2,500. Kyiv region, almost 2,000 fires. Lviv region, almost 1,200. And Donetsk region, accounting for about 1,100 fires. So what are the main causes on top of the massive strikes? And what is the area that we've lost to fires starting from the beginning of the year? Well, as I've mentioned, the total area of fires in ecosystems is more than 22,000 hectares starting from this year, 22,050 to be precise. In forest areas, it's 12,227 hectares. Well, for what I understand, another factor is a human factor that is the cause of fire. So let's brief our people how to act outside, given the temperatures are real high now outside. Well, obviously human factor is another cause of fires. When people start burning their dried vegetation, or they try to burn the trash near forested areas, or cause some other uncontrolled burnings that result in high-scale fires. And to prevent it, we've already undertaken more than 23,000 raids, including ones that were aimed at prevention of fires in the forest areas. I would also like to mention that uncontrolled burning, including intended arson, contemplates a fine. It entails a fine, and talking in real figures, we've put together more than 2,000 protocols, 2,166 protocols that resulted in having 1,160 perpetrators brought to administrative liability according to the Article 77 of the Administrative Code for violation of fire safety, and the citizens are subject to administrative liability up to 4,500 hryvnia. And intended burning of the dried vegetation entails a fine ranging from 3,000 to 6,000 hryvnia. Also, there are rolling power shutdowns happening all across the country as a result of Russian strikes on our power infrastructure. People use generators, which may also result in fires. So what are the proper procedures of handling the generators? Well, for the time being, we have 211 fires registered as those that resulted from use of generators, charge stations, inverters, and gas bottles. So within half a year, we had 211 such fires. So talking about the batteries and power banks, they were the cause of 77 fires. 36 more fires were resulting from generators, 38 more from charging stations, 5 fires resulted from the use of inverters and the use of the gas bottles, like tourist gas bottles and gas burners, resulted in 55 more fires. As a result of those fires, there were 3 people dead and 34 more injured. The total losses, the financial losses, amount to 21 million hryvnia. Well, now many people spend a lot of time near the bodies of water. So talking about the behavior on water, what was the number of accidents that you were able to document starting from the beginning of this year? Well, let me tell you that the problems with behavior on the water are serious on our end big time, because we were preparing this information for Friday. Hopefully the situation is going to stabilize due or as a result of our preventive work. And you know, back on Friday there were 223 persons dead starting from the beginning of the year, and for this morning it's 242, 39 persons dead, including 61 child. Comparing it to the same period of the previous year, last year we had 487 people dead, which is 90 persons less, including 40 children. So this year we have significant increase in death of both adults and children. We had 187 people rescued, including 17 children. So starting from the 1st of June, 262 people died, including 42 children. Comparing it to the same period of the last year, it's 34.5% more than it was last year. And starting from the beginning of the summer, we've rescued 56 children, including 7 children. As I've mentioned, only within the last day, 25 people died, including 1 child. So, how can you relate this growth of number of dead? Do people spend more time on water, or what are the real causes? Well, taking into account the statistics of the last year and the year before, the numbers went down to previous years, but we don't relate it to the fact of people neglecting their rules of behavior or safety rules. It's more like more people are coming back to Ukraine and less people were spending time near the bodies of water last year and the year before. But to find the real reasons, probably we have to conduct some sociological survey, because this is just an assumption of ours, because those preventive measures that were taken unfortunately don't yield any significant results so far. We see the statistics keep growing, and regardless of the fact that the state committee recommended to prohibit the use of beaches, we were recommending in those regions where it's real dangerous, where the battle operations were taking place, where it's impossible to check the bodies of water, to inspect the beaches properly, and they still pose hazard for the people. On top of it, we still recommend it because not all of the beaches are equipped with shelters, which means those facilities cannot be open for recreation for the citizens. For example, in many regions we still don't have the beach season open. For example, in Kyiv, we know that there were no permit to visit the beaches, but we see how flooded the beaches are with people. We see people coming there basically neglecting the safety rules, and as a result we have these bitter statistics. Talking about the number of dead throughout the regions, the leaders are unfortunately Kyiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Vinnytsia, Volyn, Zakarpattia, and Khmelnytsk regions. So basically, in Kyiv region, we had 27 dead, including 3 children, and Khmelnytsk region that I've called the last 14 people, including 3 children. So talking about anti-leaders, in Zakarpattia region, unfortunately, we had 16 people dead on water, including 6 children, and I would like to emphasize that the death of kids on water is first of all the responsibility of children. So the children are not supposed to stay near the bodies of water without being accompanied by the adults, and they should be briefed that the water poses hazard. Thank you very much, Ms. Svitlana. Let me remind you that we were talking about the forest fires and accidents on water, and we will continue our operation at 12 o'clock. We will have the trailer debut for People of Steel and premiere screening results for European diplomats. So stay tuned, and glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes.